Usually by mid-December we have a couple feet of snow. Last December I remember battling frozen pipes and freezing temperatures in the single digits. But this December has been oddly different. Most of our state was experiencing some really serious flooding that took out several highways, including one of the main passes to get from the west side to the east side of the state. Luckily, we weren't affected by the flooding, but we were affected by the weird weather patterns. In the 10 years that we've lived in this place, it has never been like this. And I talked to somebody who was one of our neighbors who had lived here for 47 years, and he said he had never seen it like this either. So it's been very odd. So unlike last year where I was dealing with frozen pipes and frozen animal waters, this year we are dealing with slush, mud, and just horrible road conditions because some nights it actually has froze and this turns this kind of stuff into a sheet of ice, and it is not fun. I've already slid down the driveway uncontrollably a couple times, which isn't that big of a deal since we don't have any steep banks to go off of, but there's still rocks and trees and stumps, and I would hate to ruin one of our vehicles because I can't gain control on this ice. Not only has it been above freezing, but we've also been getting tons of rain, and this rain and excess water has been washing out our driveway and causing really deep ruts to form. So in the spring, we're going to have quite a bit of work to do on our driveway. This is so weird. It's hard to tell in the video, but these ruts are actually so deep that they come up almost as high as my boots. This is one of the many reasons that having a four-wheel drive vehicle is non-negotiable where we live. And it's not just for the snow in the winter, it's for the mud in the spring, or in this case, a middle of winter thaw. Unfortunately, we still had to cut firewood in this mess. That's one thing about living in the mountains is it never stops. The work never stops. It doesn't matter what the weather's like, how hard things get. You just have to keep going, and that's one thing that we've learned from living out here is to just not give up and just keep pushing even when things are hard. We did end up getting our wood delivered, although it was a little muddier than we would have liked. It was all we could do, and the people were very understanding. Luckily, they were a family friend. But one positive note about this rainy, nasty weather is it kind of forced me to be inside for a little while and get some of the stuff done that needed to get done, like these apples that I have been needing to process for quite a while. I have a bin full of apples that I planned to make applesauce, apple juice, all kinds of stuff with, and it has just been a busy fall, so I just haven't got around to it, and now I am finally diving into it, and I'm making applesauce, of course, and I'm making multiple batches, as much applesauce as I possibly can, because it's a great thing to have on hand as a snack or a side dish for dinner, or even just something that you can tolerate when you're not feeling well. Thankfully, applesauce is really easy to make, and I make mine with technically just one ingredient. If you want to count the lemon juice I added, you can. That's just to help keep the apples from turning brown and also just to add a little bit more acidity to the applesauce. That way, when they're canning, I can be sure that they're 100% safe. Normally, I would use a squeezo for making applesauce, but I couldn't for the life of me find mine, so I just went with my KitchenAid attachment, which peels, cores, and slices the apples. And if I were using the squeezo, I would pretty much just quarter the apples and throw them into a pot and then run it through the squeezo, and it would take all of the skins and seeds and everything else out. But since I didn't have this at the time, I had to use this, which works just fine. It just adds an extra step. So when making applesauce, all you really need to do is cook down the apples until they become very soft and mushy, and then somehow blend them or mash them until they turn into applesauce. You will also want to make sure to cook them on a low heat, because I have ruined a pot before by making applesauce and having it on too high. It burned the apples to the bottom of my pot, and I never was able to get the burned apples off. But I learned my lesson this time around and made sure to cook them on low and constantly check to see if they needed to be stirred. First, I started using my potato masher to try to mash them down, but that wasn't working really well. So later on, I ended up switching to a wooden spoon and just kind of breaking the apples up. That way they would cook more.
Huh? That's how you don't make them? Mash them?
Mm-hmm.
Then you're gonna heat them up, and then they'll turn into applesauce.
Yep. According to the canning safety guidelines, you need 1 tablespoon of lemon juice per pint or 2 tablespoons per quart. I didn't measure mine because I just dumped a lot in there, and I'm gonna say that even if it was off by a little bit, I'm sure it's fine. Apples are one of those high acidity foods, so I'm not really worried about it. You also have to adjust the time that you can them depending on your altitude. So at my elevation, I had to can the pints for 20 minutes and the quarts for 30 minutes. I just hit this with the immersion blender until it was completely applesauce-like, and if there seemed to be any chunks that needed to cook any longer, I kept it cooking. But once it looks like applesauce, you're ready to load up your jars and stick them in the canner. It's pretty simple. You can just ladle the hot applesauce into jars and make sure that there's 1 inch of headspace, and then put the lids on just finger tight. You don't want them over tight. Then you'll put them in your boiling water bath canner for the time appropriate for your elevation. If you enjoy watching my videos, please make sure to like and subscribe so you can see more. And please leave me a comment if you're going to try making applesauce or if you've done it before.